So I like Mike Nellis. I think Mike Nellis is based. He has a lot of really great opinions, and he goes on shows and he doesn't give a fucking inch. They'll try to deflect from whatever points he makes, and he stays right on it. And I've done research on him, and he's clean. He's not affiliated with anybody that is going to make him fail the Democratic litmus tests that we're putting forth so far. And he's warning us about Nick Fuentes, and I'm sure if you are familiar to politics at all, you know who Nick Fuentes is. But it's rare that people like him take the mask off. The whole idea is hide your power level. And you really have to appreciate when you get these moments, because when these Groiper types are, for lack of better words, just going off at the mouth, well, they say some shit that they're not expecting anybody to really pay attention to. Mike Nellis caught it. And let's go ahead and jump into this clip, and then we'll get some further analysis going on.
Folks, Nick Fuentes is back, and he is encouraging his supporters to vote Democrat in November. He is sick and tired of Donald Trump's bullshit and wants to destroy the MAGA movement for good. But there's a dark twist to why Nick Fuentes is telling his people to vote Democrat, and we cannot turn away, because this kid is a nasty, racist, sexist, anti-Semitic piece of garbage, and we cannot treat him like an ally. Let's dive in. Before we get started, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Help us by engaging with this video so more people get a chance to see it. Help us build an independent media company that can expose these MAGA right-wing clowns like Nick Fuentes.
I care about affordability. I care about foreign interventions. I care about the border. I'm a non-woke moderate Democrat. I think the GOP needs to be destroyed. I think the corrupt criminal government of Trump needs to be slowed down.
I hate to say it, Nick, but you can't be a Democrat and not be woke. You know, we are the side that sticks up for not only minority rights, but also immigrants, you know, those people that you despise. Yeah, that's us. So, I mean, I realize that the ship is sinking and you're looking for some sort of refuge, but a lot of us have done our best to get a lifeboat built in this situation. And I hate to say it, but I don't share my lifeboat with rats.
The orange.
Let's stop right there for a second, because I want to be super clear about something. Like, Fuentes is a horrible human being. He was at the Charlottesville rally, which was a neo-Nazi white supremacist rally. He has said horribly offensive things on his show.
And by the way, before anybody comments about with him being at Charlottesville and the whole SPLC thing, no, the SPLC is not funding extremism. How else do you think that law enforcement and FBI gets dirt on the Klan and other groups like that? Use your head. Don't, create some sort of red herring that isn't there. Use nuance, okay?
There on January 6th at the invasion of the Capitol. He is abandoning Donald Trump right now because Trump's approval rating with young men in particular is so damn low that even Fuentes can't stomach it. All right, he has to do this for self-preservation reasons. If Fuentes thought it was in his best interest to run back to Trump, you bet your ass he'd be kissing Trump's ass right now if he thought it was good for him. Fuentes is only calling for Democrats to win the next election because he wants to dismantle and destroy the Republican Party so that he can take it over and rebuild it in his image. And I'm going to play for you in a second a clip that it completely...
That's absolutely correct. They're saying they're not going to vote for J.D. Vance because he's put in by Peter Thiel. But mostly a lot of it just has to do with the fact that the neocons support the Israel lobby, and, well, America Firsters / Groipers are extremely anti-Semitic. Now, just because Democrats say we don't agree with funding them because not only look at Lebanon, but also look at Gaza. But don't get it twisted, Nick Fuentes. Just because you vote Democrat, because you don't like Israel, does not mean that you're welcome to sit with us. It's just not the case.
Totally exposed for that plan. But let's remember that. I talk about Fuentes on this show because whether I like it or not, he is a rising star in the Republican Party. He is the future of their party, whether I like it or not. He has such influence with young Republican men right now. And we can't ignore this kid. The mistake that we made in the previous Trump years over the last decade was ignoring these people and not reporting on what they are doing so that we can stop them. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to keep staring into the abyss and talking about this little shit weasel and what he believes in and what he's trying to do. And even if I agree with him in November that I hope the vast majority of Americans vote for Democrat so that we can end this administration and expose this president, it does not make him an ally of mine.
That's right.
It's time to put this nigga in a peach. Trump needs to be placed inside of a crystal. He needs to be impeached. This fat orange, tiny hands needs to be impeached. And then in 28, no Vance, no Rubio. We have to.
Dude, I'm going to fucking crash out when I sit here and see any right wingers at all now try to criticize Trump. Like, for real. Every single time that anybody from the left gave Bone Spurs any kind of smoke, we were told we had Trump derangement syndrome. And I just found that just basically means I have no answers. But no. Now, you don't get to start bagging on him now because he's unpopular. This is stolen valor.
To burn.
See, he wants to burn down the whole party. He knows that J.D. Vance isn't going to be an ally to his cause. He knows that Marco Rubio is not going to be an ally to his cause. He specifically hates J.D. Vance because he's married to a woman of color, hates Marco Rubio because he's a person of color. Like, that goes far beyond the actual policies that they're going to support. We're living through this bizarre realignment where the MAGA movement is exploding and leaving behind residue and drama all over the place, right? Fuentes and Tucker Carlson are fighting. Candace Owens and Loomer are fighting. It's going on and on and on. And it's going to be confusing because I'm playing a lot of clips for you guys lately where I'm going, hey, Alex Jones is making a lot of sense about Donald Trump having dementia. And Laura Loomer is saying crazy things. Like, it's just, there's a lot of like weirdness right now. Not a single one of these people are our allies. And I want to play you the perfect clip to illustrate why Nick Fuentes, even if he's telling people to vote for Democrats, and I'll gladly take the votes because I want to win in November, is still an absolute weasel, racist, whiny little bastard.
I think absolutely anybody, especially anybody that watches my show, would prefer that we undergo another Great Recession or Great Depression if we could be in a white country.
There it is. That's the whole ball game right there.
100%. That's what I meant. The mask is finally off. They don't give a fuck about being poor. They don't give a fuck about anything like, I don't know, not having lead pipes for our drinking water. No, none of that. Right there it is. So during the entire election, every time we heard about, I'm voting for Trump because he's going to be good on the economy. Well, first off, has your gas gotten any cheaper this week? And second off, you're just too big of a fucking coward to say what Fuentes just said. At least he said it. I have to at least respect that part because at least he came out and said it. Instead of sitting there trying to gaslight and, hide behind the bush and hem and haw and say things like states' rights, at least he fucking came out and said it. Now that we know that this is the agenda, now that we know that we can continually use this clip to expose what their agenda is going to be, because even if they do vote Democrat, we know why. Like I said, I guess it's you start getting on a tangent and, your mouth starts just saying things that for years you've been like, well, I guess I'm not going to say this because I have to quote unquote hide my power level. Well, you just gave the game away.
He wants this country to be a white country. And I don't know what his definition of white looks like. Okay, I don't. Kid with the last name Fuentes, awfully confusing politics if you ask me. But at the end of the day, this guy, he's an adult man. I know sometimes they call him kid, but he's an adult man. He knows exactly what he's doing. He knows exactly what he's advocating for. He's savvier than people give him credit for. I've watched far more of his show than I wish I ever had to, but I cover this stuff for you guys. I cover it so I can better understand them. He's better at this than people think, but he is a bad human being. And at the end of the day, he wants to purge this country of anybody who looks differently than him, thinks differently than him, has a different faith than him. That is what he wants. And he is only speaking out against Trump, speaking out against Vance, speaking out against the Republican Party, and telling his people to vote Democrat because he thinks he can destroy the Republican Party and then take it over. It's the same hijacking that Donald Trump did. And think about for a second all the racist, sexist, horrible things, Islamophobic things that Donald Trump has done over the course of the last 10 or so years that he's been in politics. Now imagine it happens again, and the Republican Party veers off into even further crazy town. I've warned people for years that while Donald Trump...
Right there is the reason why this next Democratic, not just Congress, but especially, when we win the White House, the administration, we got to take belt to ass. I'm talking about we need investigations. We need RICO charges into people that paid these influencers like, from Russia. I'm talking we need to treat this entire motherfucking piece of corruption like one big RICO case. Democrats need to seriously take belt to ass. The first person that says the words Nuremberg 2.0 is certainly going to get my vote. But right now, if I had my choice for a dream ticket, it would be Ro Khanna and AOC.
Trump is a dangerous president, that he is not the bottom. There are worse people out there who could take control of the Republican Party and potentially run for president or be controlled by somebody like Fuentes. And by the way, there are a lot of people who think that Nick Fuentes is going to run for president one day. And I don't know that they're wrong, because that's an ambitious young man right there. And he's got a terrible, dark worldview that we have to be aware of, given the growth in his audience, given the influence that he has with young men. Can't ignore these people, but it could be a lot worse. And that's why it's important that when Democrats win in November, and I believe that we will win the House, I think we have a really great shot at winning the Senate, I think we have a great shot at winning the presidency in 2024, that when we do that, we deliver for the American people. We dramatically improve people's lives. We rebuild these institutions that are broken, that have failed us. We enfranchise so many Americans who are being disenfranchised right now.
I want to see investigations on Doge. I mean, we already know that it was a gigantic failure, and the whole idea was not only get our information to Peter Thiel, but also to ensure that Elon's cases that he had going against him, like investigation-wise, those magically went away too. Yeah, I want to see the Doge investigations. I want to know why our data was compromised.
By lack of representation in places like DC and Puerto Rico and Guam, that we fix this issue, we unrig the Supreme Court so that guys like Donald Trump and guys like Nick Fuentes can't win again.
Everybody, anybody that watches my show would certainly prefer that we undergo a Great Depression or a Great Recession if it meant that we could have some semblance of a white country again.
There it is.
Everybody knows that's true. So no, it's not about economic opportunity. We would all prefer to have a smaller house and maybe a smaller TV and a smaller backyard and a smaller car. And maybe we eat out less than we did before, and by that I mean restaurants. And I don't mean box, like Tucker, another favorite of Tucker's. Disgusting, mind out of the gutter. We would all prefer to have
we know
less
who you are. It's
if
okay.
it meant we could have more white neighbors.
See, and I'm going to stop there because I'm done listening to this asshole. That's a full mask off moment right there. All right. Every now and again, Fuentes tries to play this role of I'm the common sense guy. I'm just calling out what I see. But he is a white supremacist, pure, unadulterated, no doubt about it. He is no different than a Klan member in the South screaming white power. All right. There's no difference between him and that, except he's a lot more savvy than those assholes are. And he ain't wearing his white hood. All right. And
I do want to point out something though. That America First. Do you see that right there on his hat? Actually, let's zoom back out there. See where it says America First right there? Yeah. I think you need to look at the history of that phrase going all the way back to around the early 1930s. Because not only was it used by the Klan, and I don't want to hear, well, the Klan was started by Democrats, because obviously you don't know who Lee Atwater is. So, that's learn about Lee Atwater and then bring that energy back to me and we can talk. But it was also used by, for example, a Nazi sympathy slogan is sympathetic towards the Nazis. It meant isolationism, but that meant, hey, go ahead and do what you want. Because Charles Lindbergh, the famous pilot, who was like pretty much the mascot head of the America First Party, like Mustache Man loved him. Like, they hooked him up when he went over there. So, of course, he was going to advocate for the Bund. So, the more things change, the more they stay the same. They just don't, for some reason, think that we have the ability to use any sort of fucking search tools.
Disturbing to see this man be platformed by so many high-profile conservatives like Tucker Carlson. And Carlson right now is trying to distance himself from that. But he is a big part of the reason that Fuentes exploded in the wake of the assassination of Charlie Kirk. This is the new Charlie Kirk, everybody. If you thought Charlie Kirk was racist, wait until you meet this kid. Because there will be a time, I believe it is coming, where unfortunately, sadly, Republican conservative donors in the Epstein class, in the Donald Trump class, who are desperate for their next tax cut, desperate to get a pardon, are going to be throwing money at this kid, at this young man. I got to stop calling him a kid. He's not a kid. He's a fucking adult. They're going to be throwing money at him in the hopes that he can bring scores of young men to their cause, not because they want to help them improve the economy.
And that's why it's so important that ladies don't have anything to do with these just pieces of trash. Make fun of them. Like, by all means, please, like, do anything you can to humiliate them, because the idea is we don't want people to think that this is cool. Like, think about it. Do you know any cool conservatives? I mean, they do behind closed doors what they wish they could do if they voted blue. Just saying. But can you think of any conservatives that you're like, man, I want to fucking party with that dude. That dude he's rad. He's funny. He's cultured. He's talented. Man, this conservative dude, he's got it going on. Can you show me one?
Or make want that. They want to be able to blame all the problems on immigrants in this country, on people who don't look like them. And
victim mentality is MAGA dogma. Never forget that.
It's disgusting and disturbing. It's the same shit that Republicans always do, but every generation gets a little bit more unmasked. Gets a little bit worse. They don't have to hide their true selves anymore. Like they
Yeah, do you remember like in the 70s, like they made being a bigot not cool? Let's look at the Blues Brothers. Let's look at Smokey and the Bandit. I mean, anybody that was a bigot, or Blazing Saddles, they were portrayed as a buffoon because one thing that they can't stand is to be clowned on. And it's so important to work on your mockery game, because one thing when it comes to debate they can't do is answer straight questions if you already have the facts. And the other thing is they cannot handle when you troll them the way they try to troll everybody else. You want to talk about fucking snowflakes?
The civil rights movement, they had to hide themselves just a little bit more of their racism and their sexism and all the other isms that are out there, all the way that they treat people who think differently, look differently, act differently than they do. The mask is off with this kid. And so, yeah, we need a broad coalition right now to destroy and defeat the MAGA movement, to destroy and defeat Donald Trump. But we are entering a pivotal moment in American history where we are going to have a jump ball for the future of this country. The Democrats are going to pick a new standard bearer in 2027 and 2028, and so are the Republicans. And whoever wins those two nominating contests will determine the future of those two political parties. Two broken and flawed institutions, the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. Both are broken and flawed. The Republican Party is a disaster. The Democratic Party just kind of sucks and could be a lot better, in my opinion. But they will determine the future in the next era of politics that we move into. And could we veer off into a world where it gets dramatically worse than it is under Donald Trump right now? Yes, we could. If somebody like Nick Fuentes gets their person in place, and Nick Fuentes has both hands on the wheel instead of one hand on the wheel in whatever the new version of the Republican Party comes. Or can we elect a Democrat that understands how to use power, that's going to fight to save this country, to improve your life, to not...
That's why they're shitting their pants over Graham Plattner. Okay, number one, I don't want to hear the shit about he might have a Nazi tattoo, because even if he did, hey, Republicans would have welcomed him with open arms. So I don't want to hear your hypocrisy on that. You know, fucking, you got a problem with that kind of shit? Talk to that dude with the Camp Auschwitz hoodie at J6, okay? Just saying.
Knock these people to the point where they have to go back into hiding where they belong, where they can't speak this way in public because they know that the American people will fight them on it.
Oh yeah, the other thing about Graham Plattner that scares the shit out of him is he's not a politician. He speaks just like you and me. He's just a regular dude. Tries to be a bit more polished, and he's not as punk rock as I would like. But, you know, I suppose if you're going to be a senator, you have to make sure that you shave all the burrs off. But yeah, like Graham Plattner tells it like it is, and people love it. I think, especially in the age of everything being like AI slop and stuff, you know, and we are on the border of an entirely amazing creative renaissance. Also, people realize when people are politicians, they can tell platitudes now. They can tell talking points, and they can also see with their own eyes in front of them when they're being gaslit, being told that prices aren't what they are.
People like Nick Fuentes because the system isn't working for them, especially young men. Young men are turning to these assholes like Fuentes and Theo Von and Andrew Tate is the other guy who fucking sucks. And there's plenty of other guys that are out there. They're turning to them for answers because they're lost, they're lonely, they're isolated. And all these guys know how to do is blame women and blame immigrants and talk about white power when that isn't going to solve their problem either. Literally in the clip I just played you, Fuentes is encouraging his audience to expect less opportunity, a job that doesn't pay as much, a smaller TV, a smaller house, less times to go out and hang out with your friends at a bar or at a restaurant. Also that what? Their neighbors are white? What is the value of that to them? If you can't live a life of dignity, if you can't start a family.
They genuinely don't want people to have fun just so they can have the country they want. I mean, Nick Fuentes literally said the words like women can be sent to the breeding gulags. Like, these mask off moments are what we need to amplify. Because I'm so tired of hearing the word context, because anytime you bring these up, all you're going to hear is, well, we need a context for that. We don't have context. When I hear that shit, all I hear is I'm embarrassed to admit that I support this.
And buy a house for that family and have a vacation and get a hobby. And God, just fuck off and watch a baseball game every now and again. What's the value of any of it? And that's what these guys miss and don't understand. But let's not pretend that Nick Fuentes is our friend or any of these other clowns. Let's call them out for what they are. And let's be prepared to not only elect Democrats in November and end Donald Trump's presidency. Let's be prepared to make sure that we fight for a Democratic Party that delivers for the American people, that improves our lives, because we've only got one other political party that is not beyond repair. The Republican Party, in my opinion, is beyond repair at this point. The Democratic Party might be salvageable if we elect the right people and we can get this country back on track and away from this shit show that we're on, and not descend deeper down into the madness with a guy like Nick Fuentes. And if you're with me, if you want to help me in this fight, if you want to be a part of this fight, subscribe to the channel, engage with this video, and click the...
That's right. Go show Mike some love. So there it is. I mean, it's mask off. I think it's important that everybody sees and hears this, especially when they know that when they see Republicans voting Democrat, it's for a nefarious reason. It's not for any good reason. It's not, there's no good intentions involved. And the more people see that this is what the plans are for the future, maybe the more people will see that perhaps the left does offer something better.
GetFranzJr.net for podcasts.
Fresh record player that I could just spin records all the time.
I run into the bathroom and I'm covered in blood. Like I had put my tooth through my bottom lip.
For music. For gaming and pro-liberty game rants. That's SkipFranzJr.net.